I had spent nearly 40 years behind that bench, listening to every kind of human story the city could bring through my doors. I had seen poverty, desperation, anger, shame, and regret. I had watched decent people make terrible choices, and I had always tried to remember that justice without compassion is just power wearing a robe. But nothing in all those years prepared me for the morning a United States Senator walked into my courtroom, pointed his influence directly at me, and told me my career was over. It was a cold, rainy Tuesday in Providence, the kind of rain that makes the whole city feel gray and tired. When I entered the courtroom, something felt wrong immediately. Usually, the room had its own noise, lawyers whispering, families shifting in their seats, defendants nervously checking papers. That day it was silent. My clerk, Sarah, looked pale. She slid the docket toward me and whispered, "Judge, front row." I looked up. There he was. Senator Julian Thorne. Charcoal suit, American flag pin. 3 men in dark suits standing behind him like a wall. He was one of the most powerful political figures in the country, and he was staring at me like I was a minor inconvenience. Then I read the name on the file. City of Providence versus William Thorne, the senator's son. The charges were not small. Aggravated assault, destruction of public property, fleeing the scene of an accident. According to the report, William Thorne had driven a $200,000 sports car through a school playground fence. And when a 62-year-old teacher tried to stop him from leaving, William beat that man in front of witnesses. I looked at the defendant's table. William sat there chewing gum, bored. He was not scared. He was not ashamed. He looked like a spoiled young man waiting for his father to make the problem disappear. I struck the gavel, calling the matter of City of Providence versus William Thorne. Before the prosecutor could speak, Senator Thorne rose from the front row and walked straight through the gate into the well of the courtroom. "Sir," I said, "you need to sit behind the bar." He smiled at me like I had told a joke. "Frank," he said, using my first name as though we were old friends, "let's stop pretending. I'm here to make sure you don't make a mistake that costs you your pension." The entire room gasped. My bailiff, Officer Quinn, stepped forward. I raised one hand to stop him. "Senator Thorne," I said, keeping my voice steady, "in this courtroom you are not a senator. You are a member of the public. Sit down, or I will have you removed." His smile vanished. "I decide funding for courthouses like this," he said. "I influence federal judgeships. You don't remove me, Frank. I remove you. Dismiss the case. Apologize to my son. And maybe I'll forget you hesitated." At that moment I did not see a senator. I saw a bully. The kind of man who had spent so long being feared that he mistook fear for respect. I leaned toward the microphone. "You may have power in Washington," I said, "but in this room you do not decide what justice is. Sit down, or you will be placed in a holding cell for contempt." For a long second he stared at me. His face turned red. Then he sat, but not like a defeated man. He sat like a man planning revenge. I turned to the prosecutor, Elena Rodriguez. She was young, only a few months into the job, and her hands were shaking. "Miss Rodriguez," I said gently, "proceed." She stood and explained what happened. William Thorne had been speeding through a school zone just as children were leaving for the day. Arthur Henderson, a 62-year-old history teacher, saw the car coming towards students and stepped into the crosswalk, waving his arms for the driver to stop. Williams crashed through the playground fence and destroyed part of the play area. But the assault came after. Mr. Henderson ran to the car, worried the driver might be hurt. William got out furious, not about the children, not about the damage, but about his paint job. When Mr. Henderson told him he could have killed kids, William punched him in the face, knocked him down, and kicked him while shouting, "Do you know who my father is?" I looked at William. He smirked. Then I called Mr. Henderson forward. He rose slowly from the second row, leaning on a cane. His arm was in a cast. One eye was swollen shut, bruised deep purple across his face. Every step he took sounded like pain hitting the floor. Before he could speak, one of the expensive defense attorneys jumped up. "Your Honor, this is unnecessary. The senator has offered to pay medical bills and repair the fence. This is a civil matter." I looked at him. "A man was beaten because he tried to protect children. That is not a civil matter. That is a crime." From the front row, Senator Thorne spoke again. "How much does the teacher want, Frank? 10,000, 20? Let's write the check and leave. I have a flight. Mr. Henderson looked down, broken. "I don't want money," he whispered. "I just wanted him to say sorry." He laughed while I was bleeding. That sentence cut through the courtroom. Then the doors opened. Two men in dark suits entered, walked straight to Elena, and handed her a phone. She listened for a few seconds, and her face went white. "Your Honor," she whispered, "the state wishes to drop all charges." The senator leaned back and smiled, then he stood. "Well," he announced, "justice prevails. Come on, William, we have lunch." William stood, looked at the injured teacher, and muttered, "Later, Grandpa." Mr. Henderson's main cane fell to the floor. I slammed the gavel so hard the sound cracked through the room. "Sit down." The senator turned stunned. "The charges are dropped," he said. "You have no authority." I said, "Sit down." "Officer Quinn, block the doors. Nobody leaves this courtroom until I say so." Quinn moved in front of the exit. I looked at Elena. "You are an officer of this court, not of the senator, not of the district attorney. You took an oath to the Constitution. Give me a legal reason for dropping charges." She trembled. "Lack of evidence." I held up the file. "I have witness statements, a medical report, a police report. Do not lie to this court." Her voice broke. "The witnesses recanted. All of them. 10 minutes ago." I looked at the senator. Of course they had. Threats, money, pressure. Whatever method he used, he thought he had cleaned the case. But he forgot one thing. "You may have reached the witnesses," I said, "but you forgot the witness you cannot threaten." He narrowed his eyes. I pointed to the courtroom camera, then to a young reporter sitting in the back. "This is an open courtroom. Everything you said is already being recorded. And one more thing. This morning, the school principal submitted security footage from the playground." William's face went pale. I held up the USB drive. "We don't need witnesses, Senator. We have the video." The footage played on the courtroom monitors. The silver car tore through the school zone, jumped the curb, smashed through the fence, and crashed into the playground. Children ran. Parents screamed. Then William got out, furious about the car. Mr. Henderson approached, asking if anyone was hurt. Then William punched him. The courtroom watched as the senator's son kicked a bleeding 62-year-old teacher on the ground. Then the audio came through clearly. "Call the cops. My dad owns this town." When the screen went black, nobody moved. Elena wiped her tears. "Your Honor," she said, "the state withdraws its motion to dismiss." "Good," I said. "Now we discuss bail." The senator stepped forward again. "We'll pay whatever bail you set." I opened the guidelines book, then closed it. Given the family's private resources, access to travel, and the obvious attempt to intimidate witnesses, bail is denied. The defendant is remanded until trial. William finally panicked. "Dad, do something!" Officer Quinn moved to cuff him. The senator's guard stepped in front, stood. "If those men do not move in 3 seconds, arrest them for obstruction." The room froze. 1. No one moved. 2. The senator looked at the camera, then the reporter, then the room. "Stand down," he hissed. The guards moved. The cuffs clicked around William's wrists. That sound was louder than anything said all morning. It was the sound of privilege meeting reality. Before leaving, Senator Thorne leaned close to the bench. "You think you won," he whispered. "Tomorrow, the Department of Justice will be digging through your entire career." He kept his promise. Within an hour, he was on national television accusing me of corruption. Men arrived to seize court files. For a moment it looked like his lie might bury the truth. But the full courtroom video was already online. Millions watched him threaten the court. Millions watched his son beat a teacher. Millions watched justice almost get bought in real time. Then the truth turned back on him. Reporters uncovered campaign finance violations. Old posts surfaced. Witnesses came forward. And before the day ended, real federal agents arrived. Not for me, but for Senator Julian Thorne. He was arrested on the courthouse steps for fraud, misuse of campaign funds, and obstruction of justice. William Thorne was later convicted. Mr. Henderson recovered, and the city rallied around him. Elena Rodriguez left the office that tried to silence her, and eventually became a fierce public servant. As for me, I stayed on the bench, because that day reminded me why courts exist. Not for the powerful, not for the connected, not for the people who think their name can replace the law. Courts exist for the teacher with a broken face, the frightened witness, the ordinary citizen who still believes someone will listen. And in my courtroom, no title, no fortune, and no senator gets to stand above justice.